Arcade Heroes.
Greetings, it's Adam with ArcadeHeroes.com, and we've got some news on new arcade releases, and interestingly enough, both of them are sports-related today. Now, sports games have, of course, been around in the industry since Pong, as, you know, that was virtual tennis, and there were quite a few sports games back in the 70s, mostly Pong variations, but throughout the years, there have been plenty of sports video games, although in more recent years, there just hasn't been quite as much available. Most of them have been redemption-based games, like basketball arcade machines, boxing machines, the kick soccer ones where you just kick a real ball, kind of like the boxing machine. Lots of redemption games. I know Andamiro and Ice and LAI all have different redemption games that have some sort of baseball or basketball or football theme to it, and so there's been a lot of that. But when it comes to video games, where we're the industry that created NBA Jam and NFL Blitz and all of those, we haven't had a lot. Now, to be fair, we have Golden Tee Golf, which is the best-selling sports game in arcade history. It's one of the best-selling sports games in arcades out there. I don't know the exact numbers, but I've seen them tout that every time they release a new one, which is always once a year, they sell over 10,000 upgrade kits. And so there's quite a few out there, of course, mostly in bars, but once in a while you might get an arcade that has one of those there. And so why is it that we don't have tons of sports games? I'm not 100% sure. The enthusiasm behind sports is definitely there. Whether it's looking at ratings and all the different types of sports that there are. Now, granted, I know that ratings have gone down for some sports. I read recently that baseball has seen a lot of record lows in at least maybe more live attendance. I don't know how the viewership is on YouTube and live TV and all that stuff, but either way, there's still lots of people out there that love sports. And even in the industry, every time I go to a trade show, it's pretty much always a conversation at one of the manufacturers' booths about the latest happenings in sports. And a lot of the guys that are in these companies were at companies like Midway when stuff like NBA Jam or NFL Blitz was in development, or might have even worked on them in some degree. And so I've always been kind of curious. It's like, why don't you guys, if you guys love sports so much, you obviously understand it, why don't you make some more sports games? But we got something here that's, I guess, going to make up for that, and that's Arcade Collection by Incredible Technologies. Now, I became aware of this being available when I got my latest copy of Replay magazine, and you just open up just a page and has an ad right here for Arcade Collection. And not sure if you can really see it there, but it mentions that conversion kit and dedicated showpieces now available. Now, I reached out to a distributor. I know he sent me this link that shows the cabinet. He only quoted to me the MSRP for the home edition, which is $4,495. That might even vary a little bit from distributor to distributor. I don't know for sure, but did not mention what the commercial coin-operated version is. Now, this picture, as you see here, it definitely is the coin-op version. It has a dollar bill acceptor on it, it has a coin slot on it, but why it doesn't... why they didn't provide that price, I don't know. But I did film this one back at Amusement Expo 2022 in Las Vegas. So Arcade Collection has 3 Incredible Technology sports games on it: Target Toss Pro, Silver Strike Bowling, as well as Power Putt Golf. And individually, as far as I'm aware, when these games sold back in the day alone as standalone machines, they were somewhere in that $4,000, $4,500 range. And so having all 3 of them together for that price, unless of course the commercial version is significantly higher. That's a pretty good value. That's a lot of content in these that's being offered here. As you can see, there are just all these different modes and each one of these games has a bunch of modes and things into it. So these are about as close as you can get to offering console games in the arcade business without them being console games. They don't even have timers. I've seen instances at trade shows, unless it's a special trade show mode, where you can just kind of sit there and there's no timer counting down making you move along like most arcade games have. And so again, that makes them a little unique. Now, I've not had a Golden Tee at my own arcade, so I can't say how that earns. I do remember back in the day when I worked at a family entertainment center, we did have a Golden Tee 98, and it was always in the bottom 5. But we didn't serve drinks there, and it was in the arcade area instead of down at the restaurant. Probably should have been down at the restaurant, where I imagine it would have done better. But yeah, I'm not 100% sure how these particular games might perform, although once in a while I have had somebody ask for something like Golden Tee. I have had NFL Blitz and NBA Jam. The only reason I don't have NFL Blitz out anymore is because the game broke. The game board stopped working, and NBA Jam only would make maybe $5 a week, if that, if I had that one out. And so just it's available on consoles, and there was a newer remake some years ago, and so I guess people just didn't care. And also there's the arcade 1-ups now. But I wouldn't mind an arcade remake of something like NBA Jam or NFL Blitz. And so, but anyways, I'm getting off the point there. That's Arcade Collection. Again, should be, from what I'm told, the home version shipping first, and then the commercial version will be shipping soon afterwards, but maybe within the next week or so. And hopefully the price isn't too far off. Now for our next game, this one is Football Frenzy by VRStudios, and when they say football here, they're talking about American football. Of course, if you're European or anywhere else on the planet, I know when you hear the word football, you think soccer, but of course we call it soccer. But this would be the first football video game, not redemption related, that's come to the market since Madden Season 2 in 2006, which was by Global VR, as far as I recall. As again, yeah, there just haven't been a lot of football, baseball, basketball video games out there. To be fair, Andamiro USA does have Bobblehead Baseball out right now. It's just that is specifically tailored towards redemption play. So from the perspective of a video-only game, or you're just playing for the high score for fun or competitive stuff, then yeah, you don't really have much out there to choose from. Now, of course, one thing that's going to be different about this is it is VR, virtual reality, and it's being made available in VRStudios' Fury VR cabinet, as you see here. This debuted at IAPA last year, and here's a picture of it on a location where you can see the currently only game available for it, which is the basketball-themed Hoops Madness. What you do in that game, you don the VR headset, and then using the HTC Vive controllers, you shoot hoops, and you make as many as you can before the time runs out, and gives you a score at the end. And so just a simple, fun concept, kind of like an arcade basketball game, but more immersive and video instead of the physical part. So for Football Frenzy, this will be the second game that they have for their platform. I'm not aware if they will be selling it as just a software kit or just through that Fury or pre-installed on the Fury thing. I do imagine that it'll be available for those who already own one. That would be a lot more economical. One issue with most VR systems out there is that the price on them is far higher than any video arcade machine, and the prices have gone up on the video arcade side, as games that used to be $7,500 are now $10,000. But even then, VR machines have been usually starting at somewhere around $25,000 for the lowest end. Most that I've seen have been closer to $50,000 and go up from there, and some systems are even $100,000. I'm not sure how much the Fury VR costs, so can't speak to that, but I do imagine if you already invested in one, it'd be nice to be able to get the software without spending 5 figures. But again, don't know the pricing on that as it wasn't mentioned. But in this one, you play as a quarterback, and as the press release here says, VRStudios to deliver Football Frenzy, the first unattended VR quarterback arcade experience. It's the fun, active football arcade game that players want and FEC operators need. And interestingly enough, in the press release, they point out here polling, talking about how Americans love football, American football, but also they mentioned that they did a survey of LBE operators. It's up here. Location-based entertainment is what LBE stands for, if you ever see that acronym. And so essentially people like me, although I was not surveyed for this particular one. And from that, they share these stats. 79% say that they have 0 football games in their arcade presently, and that would be me as well. I used to have an NFL Blitz 2000 Gold up until the day it just died and something went wrong with the board. Don't know what. Need to find somebody to fix it, but it did okay. It wasn't the best earning game, but would I go for a remake of NFL Blitz or even Dirty Pigskin Football? If you're not familiar with that one, it was by Play Mechanics in 2004, and it used some uniquely shaped, some football-shaped joysticks, but I've never come across that myself, but I know some people who have. And it says from their survey that 68% of operators are interested in a fun, active football arcade game, and so there definitely is some demand there, depending on. Granted, I don't know all the data behind this and the methodology that they used for this survey, and how it would matter how many responded out of it too, and if any of the questions were leading questions, that's whatever. 77% of operators are interested in a multi-sport unattended VR arcade machine with a football game. I mean, I guess I'd be part of the 23% where I'm not big on VR stuff, mainly due to the price, as it's just too much for me. Something like an NFL Blitz or Dirty Pigskin Football, maybe with some extra bells and whistles on it, sure, and updated modern graphics would be fine, but it would probably make a lot more money over time than a VR one would, I would guess. I don't know for sure, because we don't have anything out there. And in fact, Raw Thrills did test out Tecmo Bowl. It was supposed to be Tecmo Bowl 2020 and got delayed. But after testing, last I heard, they actually canceled the game. And so I'm curious why that is. Now, granted, from the sounds of it, from the press release on Football Frenzy, it sounds like they have a simple, very arcade-like experience going on. As it says here, be the all-star quarterback in this VR experience for the Fury unattended attraction. And Football Frenzy invites players of all ages and skill levels to live out their ultimate gridiron dreams of being a pro quarterback in this fun and exciting VR arcade game. Throwing a real football can be difficult, especially inside an FEC. Please don't do that. And intimidating for players, but Football Frenzy eliminates those obstacles with throwing mechanics in VR that feel rich and satisfying. Football Frenzy makes any player feel like a star as they experience the thrill of being in a football stadium underneath the bright lights with the crowd cheering them on as they march down the field. And makes me kind of think, wouldn't that be something if a family entertainment center added on some stadium lights onto the game to make it more immersive? Probably be too bright and maybe a little too warm in that instance. And it mentions that it has dynamic difficulty, so it can detect whether or not you suck or if you're really good and adjusts to that. It mentions that it's intuitive, easy to play, takes skill to master, but it doesn't exactly lay out how the gameplay is. I mean, from the screenshots, it looks like, again, it says you were quarterback, so I'm guessing it just gives you opportunities to make passes, and that's probably all you have to do, other than, and obviously paring the whole thing down so that you don't have a 3-hour long game. You don't want it to be too realistic in that instance. But this one, it's shipping soon. They say that it'll be available in time for the beginning of football season, which I know is coming up. I don't know the exact day that it starts, but I know since we're pretty much at the end of summer, it's pretty soon here. But a very interesting addition into the VR scene, but also the arcade scene, because again, we just haven't had that. When it comes to sports, we have had a soccer game. There was Fantasy Soccer by Eunice. I heard very mixed things about that one. I thought it was all right from what I played of it, but I'm also not a big soccer fan. Having lived in Brazil, though, I learned a lot more about soccer than I ever knew prior to living there. And so I do understand to some degree what the hype is behind that. But still, it seems to me like there should be more out there, I mean, particularly with soccer. I mean, both American football and world football, there's a ton of fans, there's a ton of interest in that, and so I've just been surprised by how slow our industry's been to cater to that. And like, even on the X Arcadia, I would love to see some sports games. Since they have SNK as a partner, I would totally go for a new Ultimate 11 Super Sidekicks game, and coming up with a new version of that, or a remastered version or something along those lines, because I know in my arcade it would do really well. I have Ultimate 11 on my Neo Geo MVS. It does pretty good. And I also have a foosball table, which also does decently well when it works. And so what kind of sports games would you like to see come back into the arcade? Or will these particular games, the arcade collection and the Football Frenzy, placate you for now and look like there's something that you would want to try? Let me know in the comments below. And thanks for watching, and we'll catch you on the next piece of news in the next video.